Well, I decided to finally give it a try. After seeing so many videos and having people ask me to do this, I'm taking my beloved tri-tip and I'm gonna cook it like a brisket. We're gonna season it up with a terrific rub, smoke it up out on the SnS Grills Kettle. We're gonna take it until it's at a brisket done temperature of 200 degrees or more. At the end of the day, I'm betting we're gonna have some fantastic beef to taste. All right, all that cooking is tomorrow. Today, we've got to get this 3.5 pound tri-tip ready because I want it to soak in the flavors of the rub overnight. And first I need to do a little trimming. You can see on this side we have some silver skin left. On this side we have a pretty good fat cap. I want to take most of this off. We're just going to start here and get under this silver skin. We'll lose a little bit of the meat, but it's the price you pay. Not worried about getting every little piece of fat off of here. Let's turn this over. Check out our fat cap. A lot of this is very loose. In fact, putting the knife under here, a lot of this is just going to come up. You can almost peel it up. See that? It's just like pulling away. So I want to get the majority of this fat off of here. Now I'm really not sure how long this is going to take to cook out there tomorrow. My plan is to try and cook it at a lower temperature, down in the 250 range. I really don't want to go above 275, so I'm going to try and really dial it in. I'm going to be using the slow and sear and just try and keep that temperature down. If I could keep it at 225, I'd love that, but we'll see. 250 will be the target temp. Now, why did I decide to finally do a tri-tip like a brisket? Well, if you've watched enough of my videos, you know that I've done a lot of tri-tips and I generally have a method I use. I call it the 110 sear method. It will get me the exact doneness of tri-tip the way I like it every single time, right in that medium rare range. And I didn't want to just say, oh, I'll cook a tri-tip like other people doing brisket style tri-tips just to do it. I wanted to have an idea what I would do with it. And what I'm going to try and do with it are make some great tri-tip brisket sandwiches. Now I could do a tri-tip sandwich, I've done that before, but that's more just like a steak sandwich. If I can get this to a brisket consistency, whether it's slicing and really tender or pulling apart, that'll be fantastic. We'll add a little bit of sauce to it. It can be some terrific sandwiches. Little bit of a very thin membrane here. Generally, I don't worry about that. It's not a very tough membrane, so I don't want to hack into the meat to try and get this off. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to wrap this like I would a brisket. I'm just going to sort of play it by ear once we're out at the grill. But this looks good to me as far as trimming. I'm happy with this. I wasn't going to get every little tiny fleck of fat off of there. And like I said, this little bit of membrane here is thin. It's not going to harm anything. So let's go ahead and get this rubbed up. Now the rub I'm using today is the Chop House Beef Rub from Mad Moose Barbecue. Now Zach from Mad Moose Barbecue sent me this rub. I tasted it and I said, I'm paying you for this. It's good. You're a small business person. I don't want free rubs that are this good. So I basically sent him the money for this rub and some other things he sent me. I like to do that. If there's a product that someone, especially a small business, wants me to try, tell me about it. I'll go out and buy it. And Zach was nice enough to put a coupon code for anyone who wants to buy any of his product. I'll put that down in the video description along with a link to Mad Moose Barbecue. And this is really good, this rub. I love this stuff. So we are gonna get a good coating on this tri-tip. Not using a binder, there's enough moisture here to hold the rub as much as I want. If you want to use a binder, go ahead. I generally don't, as I've mentioned many times, unless the meat is just really, really dry. All right, that is good. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this loosely with plastic wrap, and it's gonna go in the refrigerator overnight soak in these flavors, and I'll see you tomorrow out at the SnS Grills Kettle. All right, the SnS Grills Kettle is up to temp at about 225. Got mesquite wood on there for smoke. Let's get our tri-tip on. I'm gonna go ahead and get my internal temperature probe in here. I'm using the short probe today. That looks like a good placement. We're somewhere around 35, 36 degrees. So let's go ahead and get our lid on and get smoking. So as I mentioned last night when I was prepping this tri-tip, I'm gonna cook it like a brisket. I'll adjust my vents to try and keep this in the 225 to 250 range because the ultimate temperature is gonna be probably 205 internal. In an hour or so, check it, see if we need to spritz it, and probably somewhere in that range to the 2-hour range, I'll wrap it. Probably, because I haven't 100% decided yet. This is the first time I'm doing it this way. I've seen a lot of other people do it lots of different ways. I don't know, I'm playing it by ear. So I'll see you back here in an hour or so when we check this tri-tip. All right, we are 90 minutes in. Internal temperature of the tri-tip is about 135 degrees. The kettle temperature has been right around that 260 range. I haven't really been able to keep it under 250, even with the bottom vent fully closed and just using what's kind of informally known as the smoke hole to adjust airflow. But 260 is not bad. So let's see how we're doing. It's looking good, but a lot of moisture still on the surface. I'm not really planning on any real great development of bark on this, but some more color, a little bit darker color would be nice, so I'm gonna let it keep going like this, unwrapped for now, and I'll make a final decision later on wrapping. So I'm gonna let this go for another hour, then check it again. All right, we've been going for 2.5 hours now. The internal temperature is about 163 degrees. Let's take a look at this tri-tip, and I think I probably will wrap it. That is definitely more of the color that I was looking for. All right, let's go ahead and get this off here and get it wrapped up. So I'm not going to be adding any moisture to this. There's still quite a bit of moisture here, so again, I'm just trying this. This is an experiment to me. All right, let's get this back on. Get our probe back in roughly the same place. That's good, it's showing right around 160, close enough. All right, let's get the lid on. Let this finish up to around 205. I'll see you back here when we hit that temperature. All right, we are approaching 200 degrees internal. What I wanna do now is I wanna take the tri-tip out of the wrap, put it back on the grill, kind of let it tighten up, dry out a little bit, maybe leave it there for about 20 minutes to finish up. Get our temperature probe out of here. All right, I'm gonna let that go for about 20 minutes, and then we are gonna be done. I'll see you inside just as soon as this is done. Okay, here it is. Tri-tip cooked like a brisket. Now this took just a little over 4 hours and it's been resting for 20 minutes. I'm glad I did at the end there, let the bark, if you will, sort of set. Even though I wrapped it in butcher paper, there was still quite a bit of moisture here. Butcher paper does tend to breathe a little better than foil, so you don't get a lot of that excess moisture sitting on it, but we had a little bit, so I'm glad I tightened it up here. But now, all there is to do is slice into it. And remember, tri-tip has sort of a twisty grain. It goes this way, it goes this way. Really, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna cut straight across the middle here. We're gonna cut some slices, I think, to to make a barbecue beef sandwich. Let's see. Let's get a look inside first. Hey, nice. We actually got a little smoke ring there. Let's see if we can get some thin slices. Still pretty warm. Wow. Still pretty warm. Good amount of moisture still in there. Cut some from this end right here. It still feels strange cooking a tri-tip to anything beyond medium rare. And though I know I'm gonna build barbecue beef sandwich, I'm gonna do a little bit of a taste here before we add anything else to it. So it's time to taste. Let's see. That is pretty tasty. Pulls apart pretty good. I do feel that if I'd wrapped it in foil, it might have been a little bit more tender here at the end, but it's still pretty tender. It's juicy, not as juicy as you would get in something like, a brisket point or anything like that, or even a really good brisket flat, but it's not dry. Let's go ahead and cut some more here for our sandwiches. And that Chop House beef rub from Mad Moose Barbecue, really good on this. All right, let's go ahead and build a sandwich. So I've just got a plain old bun here that I toasted a bit. I want to start laying some of our beef on here, and I'm just pulling it apart to make it fit because it is nice and tender. Now you could top this with an au jus or something that you save from drippings. I didn't really save any drippings because I used butcher paper, so a lot of that liquid didn't get collected, it just soaked into the paper. So I'm actually going to use some barbecue sauce, and I'm actually using some more from Mad Moose Barbecue. I'm going to use a honey chipotle barbecue sauce. I'm going to pile this kind of high because I'm in the mood for a big old barbecue beef sandwich. Let's get some of this honey chipotle barbecue sauce on here. And what I also like on any barbecue beef sandwich when I can make it, just some pickles, some dill pickles. Go ahead and top this. That looks like a barbecue beef sandwich that I am going to enjoy. So again, it's time to taste. I'm not even gonna cut this in half. I am just diving in. Let's go. That is really good. I like that sauce, but really the thing I'm getting here is that tenderness of the meat. It is just really, really tender. I was definitely skeptical doing a tri-tip brisket style. But you know what? If I'm gonna be making barbecue beef sandwiches and I don't wanna cook a whole brisket or a chuck roast or something like that, tri-tip's a good alternative for that, to do it this way and get these results. Also, using mesquite, really good because you can't miss that mesquite flavor. Just like hickory or olive wood, those have very pronounced smoke flavors in meat, especially in beef. And for this tri-tip cooked brisket style, I think the mesquite was the way to go. Everything worked together here. The rub, the beef, the smoke, the sauce. As I said early on, I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. And I would have to say, I'm extremely happy with this. I don't know that this will replace the normal way I make tri-tip, 110 sear method. But if I am doing barbecue beef and I want this, I would definitely do this. So this was definitely getting outside of my comfort zone when it comes to cooking or smoking or grilling. And I am extremely happy that I did. And if you have something you want to experiment with, like a tri-tip cook like a brisket, go ahead and do it. It may just taste this good.